Everyone, the numbers are in for Whisper Dunes real estate market for May. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. A lot has happened in real estate over the last 60 days. This update will probably be a little bit longer than normal. Just there's a lot of data that I want to give you guys. So for you data nerds, especially out there, there'll be a lot in here to give you some sense of what's happening in the market, what's happening with prices. To start, what you're looking at here comes from a company called Showing Time, and Showing Time is some software that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule showing appointments. So if someone wants to go out and look at 5 houses, this is the way a lot of offices and agents schedule those things. And what's nice about it is we're getting some data just on how many people are getting out to look at real estate. And so if you think about it for a second, to have a real estate sale or closing, you had to have a contract in place. And it usually takes about 30 to 45 days to go from contract to the actual closing. Well, before you had the contract, a buyer had to get out and look at real estate, right? They need to see what they're going to make an offer on. So it's looking, showing, looking at houses, negotiating contracts, and then closing. Basic, I know, but so we've started to look at real early on in coronavirus pandemic, I started looking at I want to get some sense of the showing activity because we know this was going to happen. We knew that there was going to be way fewer showings happening, but we didn't know for how long, and we didn't know when we would start seeing it come the other way. So to understand where the real estate market might be headed, instead of following showing appointments was going to give us a really good way to glimpse into the future of where the market may be headed. So we knew that this was going to happen, but I was a little surprised to see that as early as beginning of April, people actually started to pick up and get out and look at real estate again. At the bottom of the market, it was about an 85% difference from people going out to look and consider real estate from the same time in 2019. 85% fewer showings were happening, so pretty dramatic. But look at what's happened very quickly. Since the beginning of April, in 2 months, the market's come all the way back to just about even year over year. And I would contend from a normal standpoint, normal in quotes, that we're not all the way back to normal yet. But from a real estate standpoint, we're showing the same number of homes that we were this time last year. So the next step, remember, in our process is if we're going to have a closing, we need to have a contract. So are these people just wanting to get out of the house and just get out and look at things? Or are they actually making offers and doing business and writing contracts? So we followed that. The blue line here represents the number of contracts, new contracts that are being written, buyers and sellers agreeing on the sale or purchase of a property. So of course, early on, this is week by week. So early on, we were 47% off for early on the coronavirus. Week 2, surprisingly enough, we were up 50% year over year that week. A little bit of an anomaly, but then you can see the decline. We were down 26%, then down 30%, then down 56%, then down 70%. And if you think about what was happening, that was normally the time of year that the things would pick up. And we were going just the exact opposite direction. So the bottom of the market, we were down writing 70% fewer contracts year over year. But look at what happened in the month of April and especially May. We jumped from being down 70% to only being off 17% or 19%, which really in any given year, that might just be a small adjustment from year to year. But look at what happened in May. We were up 93% in the first week, up 83%. We were flat in the week 3. Week 4, we were up 12%. The entire month of May, the housing market was up. We wrote that many more contracts than we did the same time the last year. So it's a really good glimpse of where the market's going to be headed for closings in June, which we don't have closing data in June, of course, yet, but we can obviously see that there are going to be some pretty positive numbers going in. It's another good sign that the market really is active, almost frenzied right now. If we look at the residential market, this is the graph you're looking at here is just a residential market in Panama City Beach priced between $250,000 and $500,000. That's a good comparison for seeing what's happening in that price range for Whisper Dunes. The red line represents the number of homes for sale at any given month. The black line represents the number of closings. The most important thing to understand here is this months of inventory number. Months of inventory, you guys may have seen this before. I'm a big fan of this chart, but it tells us a lot. 4 to 5 months of inventory show us kind of a neutral market. When we're less than 4 months of inventory, that's when we're in what you hear as a seller's market, but that's where you hear about homes selling very quickly, selling for full price or over the asking price or multiple offers. Very active, heated market. And it's a supply and demand thing. There are fewer homes for sale, and there's a lot of demand in the market, so a lot of those buyers are competing for the same few homes. As we add homes for sale month over month, we have more supply in the market. That's going to cool things down a little bit. But if you look at this, remember 4 to 5 months is our neutral. We've been under 3 months for a long time here, 2018, 2019. So very, very hot, strong real estate market. We've cooled down, but we've cooled down still to about a neutral market at worst. The last 2 months have been a little bit off or just into buyer market territory, but that's only because of what's happened in coronavirus land. With the amount of activity that we've seen in that month of May, we know June is going to be a very strong month, and we're probably going to right back to at least neutral, if not still a pretty healthy market. So a good time for anybody who is thinking of selling. There are it's a good time to maximize. When you look at one neighborhood like just Whisper Dunes, it's hard to track down, or it's hard to see as much from one chart just because there's less data. But if you follow the red line, it's kind of similar. We've added a lot of inventory here in 2019, but it's come down where the rest of the market is still adding homes to the market. Whisper Dunes is just doing just the opposite. So it's a little bit more of a hot market than the average, one of the hotter markets really in Panama City Beach. If you look at some of these numbers here, remember 4 to 5 months is our neutral. November we had 11 months at that pace, but really the rest of the time, even right now, in what would be a slow month, we're still at 3 months of inventory. So overall, Whisper Dunes still a very, very hot market, still in high demand. There were 2 closings in May, a 2.5 townhome, 1,500 square feet or so, sold for $242. Another one of the homes, a 3.2 for 1,500 square feet, sold for $320,000. So in short, it's a very active market. It went from a pretty cold market, obviously, to something that's really surprising all of us, and it's kind of a perfect storm of the normal spring market in real estate. People needing to get out and do things, probably some pent-up demand for some people who did want to buy a home in March or April but didn't or couldn't, and now they're out and about. So we expect the market to ride on this emotion for a good maybe 45, 60 days or so. The interest rates are still low. We expect them to stay low. So buyers have a lot of incentive to get out right now and buy. I worry a little bit about the third and fourth quarter this year. We could have some things in the economy that could put a damper on some of this excitement and emotion in real estate. So anyone selling over the next few months is probably a really good time. It could change a little bit in the off season, but we don't see anything in the market that signifies any kind of major crash in housing. There's too much equity in housing. Too many people either own their homes outright or have very good equity. So we don't see any kind of big crash, but pricing could pull back a little bit at some point to soften it. I think that's a possibility, but we don't see anything yet in any of the economic fundamentals of real estate that show that we're on the verge of that. I think if anything, we might stay in this neutral market for a while where prices just kind of stay pretty flat. I hope this helps you guys understand what's happening in Whisper Dunes in the market. If you have any questions on all this, I know I talked pretty quick, but I wanted to cram a lot in today. Hope you guys, hope this helps you understand some things. If you have any questions about it anytime, feel free to reach out, call me, email me. If you're just curious to see what your property is worth, there's a link in this video you can click, and we'll work a report up for you. Hope all is well. Stay safe. Thanks.